I've made it into the non-physical by producing just an energetic code. That code is then amplified by the signals and, of course, by what you don't see here. Of course, this is a powerful sigil as well, but the bottom line, there's a lot of stuff underneath this that we have there, as is with all of our sigils. It's not what you see, it's what's underneath. And, of course, it's not what you see here. You can't see nothing here. And even if you play this, you're just going to get a particular tone, which, of course, is a good tone to listen to. But that's not the point. The tone energy, these sound vibrations, have went into this and empowers what is connected to, which is on this side. So hopefully that's clear. But when you get all the newer type stuff, what you're going to have to do here, plain and simple, is that you're going to have to adjust your feeling. You may feel very little energy from this initially. That's because you're accustomed to these kind of tools or things that are more physical. This is why people love Rife type units that put out physical frequencies. These physical frequencies can be measured and even to a certain extent felt. And people, again, give it more credit for that. It's just not true. And every little energy has its own particular use, but you really want to use the energies. Now, Rife energies, or these cycles per second energies that are put out there, are generally something that is, as I said, judgeable by you. But that's what they are made by, is the subtle energies you don't feel, the force energy fields manifest. So these cycles per second frequencies are created from the higher energies that manufacture these. So when you're using that, already you're stepping down one level by using that. And of course, everything has its use and potential. So it's not necessarily a bad situation entirely. But why use anything inferior? Learn to use something that is actually able to be that manifests from the core of it. And of course, when you're using energies, you want to get down to the most powerful aspect of it, not what it manifested, but the energy that makes the manifestation. The energies of creation is what's so powerful. The physical object that's created from that is not that powerful. So the whole idea is you want to use what is an energy representation that produces that energy, and you want something that's already put in a force physics reality. Now, this is force physics at its best. Nothing physical per se. We do have the disc itself, obviously, is physical, and we have the printing on it. This is, again, critical for the human understanding to have things work better. If you had to code this into your mind, if you had to visualize this and do it, it's a big waste of time. So having a basic representation of it and having an energy force here, this connects to what I've done. So this in itself isn't the energy, but it connects to that stream of energy that is going into this, and which you draw upon by using something like this without having to do everything arduously mentally. And this will keep that stream. This works kind of like an antenna, keep drawing in those energies with you not having to be involved. Now, if you had to sit here and concentrate and keep your antenna connected all the time, that would be a nightmare, and it wouldn't work very well, and you would only be able to do very limited stuff. So we do have to keep that in mind, and that's part of the process here of the realities that we're looking at. So, but initially, I believe everybody's going to have a problem converting over. Now, we have discs now for all of our formulas. We have discs. And these discs can then be used for that energy for anything. You can make your own bath salts that way. You can make your own sprays that way. So you're not dependent on getting physical products, which is a problem. Again, very costly. They're hard to ship stuff around the world, which is where the customer base for all this stuff is. I deal with people everywhere, and rightfully so. And people seek out the finest and best, and we live in a very international world now with deliveries that are relatively easy, although can be expensive. But the whole idea is that's the reality to all of it that we have to look at and understand. Now, so that's the superiority of it. What your mind has problems with, and it is your mind, it's not your higher self, because it senses the energy out of this much stronger than it senses it from, let's say, one of these alchemical oils. So much stronger. This is much stronger. But your mind jumps in and say, well, I like this. You got a nice ready bottle. You got the smellies and all this stuff. So that your mind tells you that this is more powerful. Your mind tells you, that's a flat thing with a number on. Are you insane? You must be a nut job. Did you buy that? Who screwed you out of that? You must be an idiot. That's how your mind talks, because your mind comes from the programming of your understanding from your boobalicious teachers, your ignoramuses who brought you up. And it may not even be your parents, who probably are pretty stupid as well. Maybe nice people, maybe you lived them. But the bottom line is that they're dummies. They don't know nothing. They come from errors of the dinosaurs. But if you want dinosaur questions answered, maybe they're helpful. But the bottom line is you haven't been trained by anybody of any value. And even if you go outside your family unit, most likely you're going to read books and go to seminars and be connected with boobs that are just as bad as your parents, but have new lingo. They use new words. Ooh, new agey words. Vibrations, energies, radio. Ooh, that guy's intelligent. Well, the problem is they haven't been trained very well either. And they're giving you their opinion, not even really based on anything. I'm not sure you could even call it an expert opinion, but they have done some research, and we don't know did they get the research right? Did they understood what the authors say? You know, I say things and write so many books, and when I get comments, particularly on YouTube, I say, you didn't understand a single thing I said. Because something sets them off. They didn't like the statement before that, so they take that statement and not taking things as a whole and not understanding the greater meaning of it. Just is unbelievable. And everybody gets what is stated wrong. They either didn't get what I really meant, or they interpreted a statement to as the opinion of the whole thing. And I get this constantly all the time. So, we all have to understand that, and we all have to grasp that into our inner being to do. But that's one of the hardest things to do as well. All these authority people that you've went to and kneeled at the feet of to listen to their nonsense, that they're just opinionated people that have studied a little bit, is what's messing up the world. There are very few experts, and what have they done, and what is their history, and everything else that goes with it. But you buy it because maybe they wrote a book, or maybe daddy recommended, whatever it has. But you have to always be on guard. You're your own priest, scientist, and everything else. You use everybody as guideposts, and you're supposed to bring your understanding, your higher self, to a level to understand what is truth and what is just nonsense. Or basically, these people are just their opinion and their analytical capacity to take what they've learned, transfer that into the real world, is as limited and as deep as a flea's belly button. So that's what we all have to understand in the bigger picture. So as I said, anytime you're starting to deal with this, and as we get away from the more and more physical, you're not turning dials. Where's my little dial buddies? You're not turning dials or anything else. So the bottom line is that, you're not doing this anymore in most things. And we're going to have some of these so people can do that, because there is a purpose for dials, especially as you get to be an advanced student. But when you're just using a card like this and you're inserting it in one of our boxes that then feed into an amplifier, as we have over here, and then into a transmitter, as we have over here, this gets more and more less physical. Now, people could say, well, nothing is going on there because of that. Well, of course, that's just it. You've got to understand we're using the energies of creation, synergistically put it together. This energy is then put in a particular box to transfer the energy. These are kind of transfer boxes into a then changed at the molecular structure. There's a special plate that goes under an amplifier like this that changes how the electricity picks up this energy, amplifies it, and then moves it out to a broadcasting unit, which again, we have the same thing, where we have plates that pick up the energy and transfer. So we're not using regular electrical energy either. It's an entire energetic process. And what's happening? You think that dialing this means something? Well, it doesn't. And none of these type of instruments produce any. You turn this dial, nothing happens in terms of energy in there. It's all on a basic higher consciousness level. And a lot of people think that there's something happening in these machines They're not. None of them do. Now, they can try and make them digital and you can have a little screen and stuff. It's all meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. There's nothing happening there whatsoever. But it makes you feel warm and comfy. It's like a fire in the wintertime when there's snow outside. You feel warm and comfy. But in the world of energetics and higher force physics, it's absurd. It's just nonsense. But everybody's going to glom onto that, hang on to that, grab onto that because you're stuck in the physical. Now, you need to get unstuck from the physical and start connecting to the non-physical. Start adjusting your dowsing so it picks up this kind of energy. You'll probably have to use a different pendulum. Find something that's different, probably something that's light like wood or even plastic. You generally don't want to use metal. You don't want to use stones per se. Some stones are good. A lot of times people call everything a crystal, but there are certain stones and certain shapes and other things that you may find good. But we're not talking about the electromagnetic here. So using anything metal generally doesn't help that much. There's a minor amount of electromagnetic energy in everything. And some people like that. Now, the metal actual pendulums do work, but when you're getting into this, you need to get into lighter stuff. And and this is the main one I've been using for years that we recommend, great for radionics, because radionics that most people have are electromagnetic coils. There are metal wires in there, and using a metal pendulum, if you're using a metal device, is going to help you. So you have to find out what works best for you. But as you get more sophisticated, you're going to move into lighter things like the wooden ones we have here, or something else that is different or not electromagnetic in nature. Stones, crystals, etc. All of these things are not electromagnetic in nature. Well, metal is pulling in a lot of that to a degree. But you've got to remember, copper, silver, gold, guess what? They're non-magnetic. That should tell you something about Earth energy. So magnetism, in terms of the metals we make, stainless steel, etc., are which are combined metals, are really kind of fake metals. And that's why they tend to be able to be magnetized. Well, you don't magnetize. Well, you can magnetize copper and other things. There's procedures to do that. Most people don't know that, but I don't want to get too much on the sidetrack here. The bottom line is that metals generally are magnetic, and that's part of the process. So you've got to make sure that you actually start transitioning over to that. You have to transition away from what you thought were subtle energies or metaphysical energies or alternative energies into the real energies, the force physics energies, the energies of creation. So because picking up energies from crystals and all this other stuff, that's not the same. Those are things that most people have no trouble picking up stuff from, particularly using the electromagnetic spectrum. You're probably using some sort of metal pendulum and so forth. And that's why you're able to do it. And of course, this has been something that people have used all the time. But this is not the good things to use for that. You want to use stones, you want to use wood, you want to use plastic. As much as I've hated plastic in the past, plastic is just really nothing more than carbon, and it's a natural substance. You just don't necessarily want to eat natural substances. And of course, a lot of things are done to plastic as well in the processing if you're going to have something that you're going to ingest. So ingesting plastic isn't good for you. For that matter, neither is all these metals, including aluminum, which is very toxic, yet aluminum is 18% of our Earth crust is aluminum. So in its natural form, we all need aluminum. But we have to understand the actual energies of it and understand how you're going to have to change your sensing capacities so that you can feel the energies from these and be able to grab them, amplify them, and project them towards a target. So it's very, very important to do that. You got to remember, old Dr. Thor's systems here are completely new. They're the finest and best out there. I've researched all this stuff for 50 years. I'm really the only person in this entire field that knows what they're talking about. Other people may have little bits and pieces. Some of their stuff is interesting, but they don't get it. They just don't get it, and they're still stuck in the old realities created by other people that are over 100 years old, people who built instruments in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that are really nothing more than con instruments to make a lot of money that look really pretty. The bottom line is these people died young. There's no actual tracing that these things worked all that well. They're great little instruments for what they are. And of course, a lot of these had a big price tag to them, but they're not the energies that are really of creation, because nobody really got it. So, and there are a few people who got it. Of course, the great people get it. Hieronymus, who everybody seems to love and everything else with his alloptic energy, stated that this is non-electromagnetic energy. And there's no way of measuring it and proving it with a meter. And Nikola Tesla talked about the non-physical, and he wasn't talking about fields of electromagnetism. He's talking about things that weren't. There's the ether theory that, again, is non-electromagnetic. That used to be what everybody thought the world was about. We have devices that run on this kind of non-physical non-electromagnetic energy. Things like pyramids and other things that just the shape of them creates energy. Well, I've never seen a plug-in pyramid, and I keep looking for them wherever I go. But the point is that you cannot, doesn't work like that. So you kind of, pyramids can create the electromagnetic. Again, we're talking about the force energy that creates the lower level electromagnetic. And this is the reality out there. So the whole idea is, why deal with the electromagnetic? It's limited. We know all about that. We want to deal with the energies of creation, the vibrations, that energetic field by itself. And of course, again, this has been talked about for a long time, and this is really what the ancients were using. That's why they built pyramids. That's why all of these structures. But you're not going to find an electromagnetic device, and then people say, well, they're not advanced. There was reports when Napoleon went into Egypt of there being lights inside these pyramidal and other structures that kind of just glowed there. There were lights, and there were no electrical generators. So we have to be very careful to fall into that trap. And if you're going to use this stuff at a much higher level and be able to tap into it and use it, you have to understand. So as I said, initially, you're going to probably have some problems with these, but when they're used in our particular boxes and they're going to our amplifiers and so, very simple system on the outside. The complexity that goes on, the high energy science and technology that goes into my work is not even come close to anybody. Everybody else is dealing with really kindergarten, preschool level of understanding. And you can just tell who these people are connected to and their stupidity and negativity, giving credit to the biggest stooges there are out there, which is pretty much everybody in the, quote, radionic industry, which is just filled with the dumbest suckers in the world. And the most evilest on top of it. Literally evil, trained by Satanists, who were their mentors. So it's really sad that all of this happens, but you have to get past all that. And the one thing you're going to have to get past is this love of the physical. Giving up the physicality part of your life while doing certain things is very important. In general, we're very physical. You don't jump off of bridges. You don't stand in the middle of the freeway and think that cars are going to go through you like a bad movie. This is not the reality. On the other hand, if you expect to create a better environment and to transcend past this physical, you have to think completely different. Everything you're shown here links to ascension ultimately. These are the ways you're learning the skills so you can eventually, as you get out of prison camp hell earth, you can ascend into a much better environment. But it's not open to everybody. You don't get it. You want to be involved with all those negative people. You want to buy all that crap technology from these people that are nothing more than profiteers and basically evil. Well, then you're going to be stuck in that reality. And that reality, you're not going to only pay for in this reality. You're not going to ascend. And you don't ascend now, well, it's unlikely you're ever going to find another teacher that's going to take you in another lifetime. You will then go back into the reincarnation circle of pain for the hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years. Now's your chance to avoid that. Now it's a chance to get it and be connected to it. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you're a person who's supporting us on Patreon. All of our news now is going only through Patreon. Want to know what's happening in general? And all you have to do is get the basic membership for about $6. And you can find out what's happening and with our weekly updates. We do weekly updates now for the news. So you get the news of what's happening, what's going on. Everybody always gets lots of free stuff that is provided there that you can then download. All that for a very low price. And those who really want to move into and do some supporting and learn a lot more should all be part of our all access membership. And those who want to ascend should be part of the inner order, which is where we teach ascension. And again, these are all inexpensive. There are basically little to no requirements. And there are no requirements to do anything daily. You learn or you don't learn. I mean, this isn't about grading you like we used to do in the old time as a more of a guild. Look, you're going to either learn or you want. The information is there. Learn at your own pace. There are no requirements, except in the inner order. You have to get yourself the inner order special energy cell to connect you to those energies. But in general, all of these things are very reasonable now. You can stay in touch. You vote, you act, and you support people. You can do that. You are not impotent. You are not fighting against the horrible machine that you cannot win against. The machine can be beaten if a large number of people surround that machine, that evil robot, and push it over. And you do that by voting with your wallet and supporting important people who are doing important work and staying away from the negative people. I'm just surprised the kind of viewership and support that some of the lowest level scum have. But, that's what the world's all about. And you're not going to find superior people that the crowds like, because I think that's contradictive. So you're only going to find a select few people that are smart enough and have the level of consciousness to follow somebody who speaks truth, while most people will be turned off by truth. They don't want to hear truth. They just want to hear fantasy. And they want to then be stuck and they know what's going on because they're part of society and went to those bogus schools like the Moron Institute of Technology, and they think they know something. And when you tell them they don't, they have a serious problem. So that's the way it is, people. I hope you've enjoyed this. That's the new way of thinking. That's part of the new tech that we've come out with, and these are now in full force. All of our formulas have now their own individual discs. You only have to buy one of these in a lifetime. You can charge things up with them. You don't have to buy bottles of stuff and have this stuff sitting around, even though oils really never go bad, surprisingly. But that's not the point. Why have a whole bunch of that when you can have a stack of discs that do the same thing? And these can be put under anything directly, as I showed with photographs. You can put candles on top of here if you want to. It goes on and on. Do watch our new mini machines, which are kind of a mini radionic device. Were built in one little place. Isn't that wonderful? Yes, it is. So stay tuned. All and everything you need to know is only going to come from the only pure source out there, the only expert in this field. Been involved in this for 55 years. I've written 35 books, 4 courses, been on BBC, CNN, and Art Bell Show. All of this I've done, all of this stuff. I am the prominent expert, have been for years. And if you want to follow all these disconnected, basically satanic group of people out there, well, good luck. And really, you need help. So stay tuned. Lots more coming. Until next time.